And we're back. You're listening to the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C show. Glad you could join us. Don't forget about my book, man. You can get it up on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, where all good books are sold. Now, if you're looking to get a signed copy of Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, check out our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the book club section, which is on the left side menu, and there'll be some instructions. Just do me a favor. If you're outside the U.S., make sure you choose the right option, because the pricing up there includes shipping. So make sure you choose the right option. And speaking of shipping out to outside the U.S., we had a bunch of them go out. And man, is it expensive to ship a book to Germany. And we shipped a couple to England, and there was one to France. So, man. Anyway, enough about me. Joining us right now is Boxing Hall of Famer. He's also the New Jersey Boxing Commissioner, my man, Larry Hazzard. What's up, brother?
Hey, Billy. How you doing, man?
Not too bad, not too bad. What?
I should have told you. You could have got me back on the regular number today.
No, I tried. It kept going to a machine or something.
Really?
Yeah. I tried 3 times. It automatically went. So I didn't know.
That's all right. You did the right thing. That was cool.
Oh, I'm not. Hey, I'm not letting you get away with it. I mean, come on. I mean, unless you just hang up on me, I'm gonna be. I'll find you. But
okay.
Anyway, what a fantastic card. At least the co-main event in Jersey last week, man. You got to be proud of the Glowacki Captain Huck fight. I mean, what was it like being there? I mean, I loved every second of it, watching it from my couch. Tell us what it was like being there. I know you were working, but you had to be enjoying that one.
Oh, well, I was sitting right at ringside. I mean, that's work, keeping an eye on things. But it was real, as I told someone, this was like Gotti-esque. Atlantic City, 1980s, 90s, Arturo Gotti. I mean, just pick any of the most exciting fights that have taken place within the last few decades, in New Jersey and perhaps anywhere. And that was it. The arena was electric. And, that fight actually brought out all of the elements that we sometimes talk about boxing and what makes boxing so great. The cultural, the ethnic. On one side, I'm sitting one side of the ring. To my right, it appeared as though all of the Polish crowd was on that side. On the left was the German crowd. And every time you could tell just by where the cheering and the yelling and screaming who was doing what, and it was just great, man. It was really fantastic. And that arena was rocking. You had a real fight crowd down there. You had people who were just excited about it. And as that fight was going back and forth, nip and tuck, I was saying to myself, man, I hope this thing stops either with a TKO or a knockout. I said, because this is one of those very hard fights to score, and no matter who wins, at the end, if it goes to the judges, a bunch of people are going to be unhappy. And it just had the classic ending, man. It was just great. And I said, well, somebody up there likes us because, for the duration of the fight, there wasn't a dull moment, and then it just ended the way that a fight like that should end. And it was just great. It was great for boxing, it was great for the promoters, and it was great for the state of New Jersey. And this is what boxing is all about. You had two of the... And, we even talked about it. We knew that Huck was a great fighter. And I had said to you, I said, I always go on YouTube and, try to get an idea of the other guy. I was pretty familiar with Huck. And you remember, just toward the end of the show last week, we said, this guy Glowacki, he could pretty much steal the show and win this fight. And he did exactly that. It was great.
You know, you're right. It's exactly what boxing is about. And I tell you something. I hope, and I'm glad you pointed it out about the arena and the Polish fans and the German fans, because there's something to say about the European fans. You know, they travel. They go to watch their fighters and stuff. Even if they were living here in the States, you know, their backgrounds and stuff still comes out. You know, the Polish fans rooting for Glowacki and the German fans rooting for Huck. You know, it's something that, you know, of course I'm an American through and through, and I'm proud to be an American. But, you know, that's something that sometimes we don't do. We don't travel. You know, we seem, you know how like in Europe we've talked about how they fill these large, you know, 50, 60,000 seat arenas and fans are there. It's a big event. And the United States, you know, the biggest draw in boxing, Floyd Mayweather packs the house with 15 grand because we're all lazy, you know, drinking soda and McDonald's, sitting at home watching it on a pay-per-view, you know. And I don't know, man. It clearly adds to the excitement when you're there. I mean, you're telling us that right now.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that, you know, I've traveled extensively in foreign countries, you know, Germany, Poland, Africa, you know, in boxing, with boxing. And the mentality there, even in China now, you know, when it comes to boxing, it's just a different mentality that the fans have. They have a more nationalistic type of mentality. And that's not bad. I mean, that's good. It's a good thing, especially for fighters. It's almost like an Olympic flavor, you know, where all of the countries are represented. And it's country against country. And it's not in a bad way. It's in a competitive way. And people are proud. Certainly they have an appreciation for the talents of whoever the fighter is. But they come with that mentality. And I think that is kind of what's missing with the American sports fan, especially when it comes to the sport of boxing. It just seems like that particular element is missing. I mean, we know in years past what made the sport of boxing so great here in this country was the geography. You know, you had the good fighter from Harlem or the fighter from the East Side, you know, and you'd have a fight in Madison Square Garden, and people would come out and support the guys from their neighborhood, you know. So we need to generate some of that spirit again, you know, for all of our fighters, and people have to come out and support them with a live event. They have to come out to the arena and be there, because that's where the real excitement is. And that's what we felt at the Prudential Arena in Newark last week.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you could feel it even in my living room. But, you know, I think that, and I hope that it really went a lot further than, you know, being deemed a success for the television network and for New Jersey and for the promoters and for the fighters. I look at this fight, Larry, and it's a division that I personally love, the cruiserweight division. But the cruiserweight division here in the States just isn't popular. I mean, it's very popular out in Europe, specifically Germany. They do very well. And when you look at these fighters, especially that fight, I couldn't help but say to myself, you know, in the days of boxing, when it was glory, and you're talking about, you know, the Dempseys and the Jack Johnsons and the Rocky Marcianos, even Ali and all these great fighters, when you look at them physically, what you're seeing really are guys that are anywhere from 185 pounds up to maybe 215. And that's what we saw on Saturday night. You know, the Klitschko's and the Deontay Wilders, these guys that are 6'6", 6'5", 240, 250 pounds, chiseled monster guys. I mean, that's a different heavyweight. And the cruiserweight division is actually what we want. It's an action-packed division. The guys have hand speed. They have punching power. And by watching that fight on Friday night, I hope that it went a long way in getting some support for the cruiserweights, because I think that once these guys, the fighters themselves, start to make a few bucks, it's going to keep guys that should be in the cruiserweight division rather than trying to move up into the heavyweights, try to make a buck.
Well, you hit on a very key point. That's a very key point that you just mentioned, the bucks. If they start, and a talent like those two, see, that's a fight there where there was no loser, okay? As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't clamor for a rematch between those two, because it's all about the bucks, okay? And in a rematch, you'll probably have more people come out to see it, because those, and this is good for the up-and-coming fighters to understand, that a loss is not the end of a career. You can lose and win. Both of those fighters, the winner certainly won, and Huck also won in that fight because of the gallant way in which he fought. And I think the important point that you bring out is the money. If they pay these guys handsomely the next time, because the talent is what dictates the money. And I think that these two guys really have the level of talent where they can dictate the type of purses that would make the cruiserweight division a bit more attractive. And this might be the beginning of something. And then other fighters, will not be so anxious to move up to the heavyweight division because they know that they can make them big bucks at the cruiserweight division, which is a very exciting weight class. So this might really be the beginning of something big, and I hope it is.
Well, considering the division has been around really since 1979, 1980, it took this long to get the interest. That's crazy. Yeah, I hope they had a rematch clause in there. Sometimes, and I've seen it recently, when promoter has his fighter and they're being kind of cocky and overlooking an opponent. And let's face it, Glowacki, although he looked good on paper and stuff, nobody ever saw this guy. Comes out of Poland and had all the right credentials in terms of what he looked like on paper, but until you turned on TV and saw this guy from the Prudential Center, his value skyrocketed, and I hope they weren't stupid and not have a rematch clause, because you're right, man. A rematch clause would force a rematch, and I think the fans would clamor to see a rematch in that with those two guys. It was a great fight. It was exciting from start to finish. There's no question about it. Which brings me to this question. The referee, during the fight, when Glowacki was dropped and he got up, he looked like I wouldn't have argued with the referee if he waves off the fight right there, because he seemed like he was still in Dream Street. He staggered forward and stuff. But the referee made the decision, like they have to, in a split second. And as soon as he lets him continue, Glowacki, I don't know how the hell he did it, Larry, but he comes back like he just somebody dumped a bucket of ice water over his head, and he ripped into Huck so much that normally when a fighter has an opponent that hurt, which seemingly Glowacki was, Huck all of a sudden, Glowacki must have landed enough shots to make Huck respect him, and he backed right off, which saved Glowacki and ultimately won him the fight. What's your thoughts on the referee's split-second decision in that case?
Well, you see, you're bringing up some very key points. Now you're looking at the difference between a good referee and an excellent referee. And what David Fields did, he gave the fans possibly the fight of the year by that split-second decision that he made to allow that fight to continue. And let me tell you something. I went home and I watched that fight 3 times. And one of the things that I was looking for, because I study every aspect of a fight, And the fact that David Fields is one of the referees that I have mentored from the amateurs to the level where you see him now. And on the third time that I watched it, I was watching the referee. I wasn't watching the fight anymore. I was watching what he was doing. I was watching the way that he was moving, the way that he was positioning himself, because I critique these guys after a major fight. And when that knockdown occurred, he gave him the 8 count, and he stood right in front of him. He was looking dead in his eyes, and he said to him, he said, "Walk to me. You okay? You okay?" He actually was having a conversation with this guy. A brief conversation, and he was very cognitive. I said, very good, very good. I said, the guy actually, and sitting at ringside, I was watching that. He knew exactly where he was at. He told him he was fine. He said, you want to continue? Step to me. Come to me. He walked right to him, put his hands up, and I said, he's okay. Excellent job. He did everything. He wasn't looking, like some of these guys who are looking, they find their opportunity now to become a movie star and some of this other crap that we've always talked about, for so long. And I told David, I said, if you referee every fight like you did, that fight, there will be no question, okay? There will be no question about who the best referee in boxing is. And so I was very proud of what he did, and what he did not only for the fighters, but what he did for the fans, okay? Because if he had stopped that fight, we would not have seen the dramatic ending and the way that things, culminated. It was just exciting, and it was the way it should have gone, and the way it should have ended.
I agree.
He should be yes.
I agree 100%. I mean, and then I thought he made the right decision with Huck. Huck was seriously in some serious trouble, but he was also the champ. He was also a guy that was ready to. He had to give him the benefit of the doubt, to give him one more chance. And as soon as I saw Huck not even trying to cover up or hold on, I said to myself, it's over. This fight is over, and it didn't take long, and Glowacki went in for the kill, and like you put it perfectly, it was the best ending for that fight. And there's no BS. No one can complain about scorecards or woulda, coulda, shoulda. I mean, you know what? The judges were taken out of the mix. Not that they weren't doing a good job. I'm sure they were. But the bottom line is that fight was fantastic, and it ended. You couldn't ask for a better ending. Which brings me to the main event, which I think the last person in the Prudential Center just woke up. They just made him get out of that arena. That fight, I was very disappointed in that fight, and I'll tell you why, Larry. I felt that Steve Cunningham could have won that fight. And as much as I criticize Floyd Mayweather for his style, Cunningham had everything in his favor to fight a Floyd Mayweather-type fight to beat Antonio Tarver. He had the arm reach. He had the boxing ability. He certainly had the condition. He wasn't running out of gas. And Tarver, in my opinion, looked like a fat Tarver. That's it. I mean, the guy was plodding around. He didn't want to move. He didn't want to take any unnecessary steps, and he was just waiting until Cunningham got in his wheelhouse, and he would try to counterpunch. That's it. That's what we saw for the full length of the fight. It ended in a draw, which, the fight was close. I mean, you can't complain if it went to Tarver, if it went to Cunningham, if it went to a draw. I mean, there should be no complaints about the decision. But I do have a complaint about the fight itself, and I just don't think Tarver deserves any kind of a shot at a legitimate heavyweight at this point. He proved nothing on Friday. What's your thoughts?
Well, I think that once again the expectation level had led to a great deal of disappointment. Very true what you're saying. The one thing that I noticed about Cunningham is that he was very busy in the early part of the fight. And I think if he had kept that pace, that busy pace up, he could have taken that fight. He could have won that fight. I think also if Tarver had been a little bit more aggressive, he could have won that fight either way, based on what we saw happening. But one thing I saw that was very, very, I don't want to say peculiar, but I think was final as the decision goes. It was a draw. Both of those guys, when I looked up there, Tarver and Cunningham, both had the look on their face as if, wow, great. Both of those guys were happy that the fight ended in a draw, because I believe that both thought that they had lost.
Yep.
Truthfully.
Yeah.
I believe that both of those guys both thought that they had lost the fight. And when the fight was announced as a draw, you could see the sigh of relief in both fighters.
Yep.
And I tell you, man, I have not seen that in I don't know if I've ever saw that in a fight, but I know it has been many, many decades since I've seen that look on both fighters. It was like, whoo, wow.
I know.
He wins.
I know.
Not one complaint either, Billy.
Exactly. I was just going to say, usually after a draw, each side is going, oh, man, I won that fight.
I know.
And they just say, but, what I'm thinking, and I never was a big fan of Tarver's, but he must have landed a hard enough punch at some point midway through the fight. And I know he did connect a few times with some counter punches with Cunningham that got Cunningham's respect and forced him to be a little more careful. And I think that kept Tarver in the fight, because quite honestly, if Cunningham stays busy, he outpoints Tarver. Tarver's flat-footed. I mean, he's even in his best days, I thought he was a little overrated. I mean, it is what it is.
Well, you made an interesting observation, and that's one that has been echoed by several people that the guys you talk about the fight after, and several people that I've had conversations with just in talking about the fight, all of the fights, but those two fights, and that Tarver fight. That comment has been made several times that Tarver, connected with a couple of good shots that got him the respect, enough respect from Cunningham that, the fight became a draw. Because, like I said, it appeared to me in the earlier rounds, starting out, Cunningham was really taking charge. And then he started getting hit with a couple of good shots, and he backed off from Tarver, because that's where Tarver earned the respect with his power. And I've heard that comment, echoed by many people.
Before we let you go, Larry, and congratulations on a great card, and I think that co-main event, the Huck-Lowaski fight, clearly it was on the rise now, but Jersey's back, man. So but before we let you go, I got a question that was kind of a topic earlier in the week. Well, actually, two. I got to get your thoughts on. One's kind of a nutty one, but Manny Pacquiao. Do you think that he is going to get back? I mean, do you think that this guy is going to get back? Maybe not to the level that we all loved, 5 years ago or whatever. But do you think he's going to get back in the mix? I mean, what do you think? He's coming back from the shoulder injury. They're talking about some possible fights: Amir Khan, Danny Garcia. I mean, is this guy going to rebound? Do you think, or what?
Yeah, I'm positive he's going to get back in the mix, because Philly, he has a fan base. So his fans are going to be loyal, and they're going to let him back in the mix. And, of course, like you say, I don't think that he's ever going to get back to the level, him and Floyd, neither one is going to get back to the level that they were, but, he lost the fight. So Floyd is Floyd. But Pacquiao is going to get back into the mix, mainly because of his fan base, and then he's going to take, some safe fights coming back, and he'll make the best out of the time that he has left. But he'll get back. There's nobody has come into that division that has captured the imagination of the fight fans so much that they're going to forget about Pacquiao. Matter of fact, fans are probably waiting for him to get back, but not. He won't come back to the level that he once was. I don't think so.
And lastly, Roy Jones Jr. In his prime was arguably one of the best fighters. I mean, clearly whenever he decides to hang him up, he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And when I think of Roy Jones Jr. in his prime, I mean, he was a tough out. He was an exciting fighter, and he had it all. But like a lot of fighters, he's hanging around too long, and he's bragging about beating the level of opposition that he has been. But it was announced yesterday that he's trying to get dual citizenship with the U.S. and Russia. I'm starting to think that maybe he's got a couple of screws loose now. What do you think, man? I mean, does that seem normal to you? I mean, Sugar Shane is just as bad. Sugar Shane going for a pay-per-view with him and Mayorga against, they're going up against Leo Santa Cruz and having the marries on free TV. I mean, I think I think Sugar Shane and Roy Jones Jr. Maybe are a couple of fries short of a Happy Meal at this point. What do you think?
I don't know, Billy. I don't know. Maybe Roy feels that he can do some public relations or something. I don't know. I really have no idea what that's all about. I saw a picture. Was it on Fight News?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, with Putin. And he's like, I think I'm gonna help the U.S. Russian relations. I'm saying to myself, what are you talking about, Roy? I'm starting to feel for the guy. He's pounding on his chest. He's at your fight on Friday. He's fighting on Sunday in Foxwoods. He's at your card, sitting ringside, right? I mean, normally when a fighter is a day and a half away from a fight, you're certainly not ringside signing autographs. Come on, right?
Well, Roy's not bad. I like Roy. We go back, and Roy's not bad. But I said when I saw it on Fight News, I said, "Oh, wait till Billy sees this."
Oh man!
Well, I think Roy's just having fun, Billy.
Oh no, I know, and more power to him, and that's what I'm saying. Obviously, he wasn't too worried about his fight on Sunday, signing autographs at the Prudential Center on Friday. But shipping off on a plane and ending up in Russia 2 days later. I'm like, man, what's he getting frequent flyer miles somewhere? I don't know, man. I don't know.
But, I was glad he showed up, man. I'm a big fan of Roy Jones, and he's always been very nice to me, very cordial. And he come into the arena. I said, "Roy, you want to sit here?" "Yeah, man." I said, "Come on now." And I wanted to say to him, "What the hell are you doing here?"
Yeah, I know. Aren't you supposed to fight soon? You're thinking to yourself, well, maybe he's fighting next week or something. You certainly didn't think he's fighting 2 days later, So,
funny, man.
Yeah, no, it is. My man, listen, I look forward to next week, and I appreciate your time. And again, congratulations. Great card that we got to see on Friday night, man. And it's going to be a tough act to follow, but I got faith, man. I got faith. We got some good fights coming up, and we'll be talking to you next week.
Okay, Billy. I look forward to it, man.
All right, brother. Hey, stay away from Russia, will you?
You have to worry about me.
Yeah. Good old USA, right? Yeah, right.
I'm an all-American guy, man. All-American guy. You have to worry about me.
I hear you, man. I hear you. I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Okay, Billy.
That's my man, Larry Hazzard, Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey State Athletic Commissioner and All-American guy. Roy Jones. What's going on, man? We'll be back in 2.
Talkin' Boxing.